Hi there, welcome to your favorite review channel, An Ordinary Review with PJ. In today's episode, I'm going to review a drama which is based on actual events. The events happened in the year 2005 when Category 5 Hurricane Katrina struck the US coast. It's a very rare to have a Category 5 hurricane which is devastating, and the aftermath of that hurricane was terrible, particularly for the city of New Orleans. This series focuses on the aftermath of what happened after the hurricane, particularly at a hospital called the Memorial Hospital in New Orleans. The series is called 5 Days at Memorial. It's available on Apple TV Plus. It stars Vera Farmiga in the main role, and you would remember her from many of the horror movies she has done, the Conjuring series. She was also there in the Bates Motel series. Fabulous actress. She's supported by Cherry Jones, Michael Gaston, Molly Hager, and a host of other actors who have done a fabulous job. The series is available on Apple TV Plus, and here's my review. When Hurricane Katrina struck New Orleans, the destruction was not so much by the hurricane itself, but by the levees that were holding the water that broke, and that led to the flooding of the entire city. Neighborhoods, shopping malls, everything was underwater. People were desperate to be rescued, and many of them struggled to go to safety. One such location was the Memorial Hospital, which was taking care of patients, and there was also a private hospital within the hospital which was taking care of critical care patients who are in a very, very delicate state of their health and need special care. This series focuses on 5 days at this Memorial Hospital after the hurricane. What happened? The devastation of the flooding, which led to the lack of power, shortage of food, water and medicine, made life difficult, particularly for the doctors and nurses at this hospital. This hospital was not only taking care of patients, it was also providing shelter to many people who were trying to escape the hurricane's impact. So they were all stranded in this hospital. And the series gets into detail in focusing on how the doctors and nurses were struggling to take care of the elderly and the people who needed care. How they had to make some tough decisions on certain actions that they had to take. How they struggled with shortage of medicines and the moral dilemma that they were going through in seeing their patients suffer in pain because they were not able to give them medications on time. There was shortage of food, and lack of power created more complications on life support systems that were taking care of these patients. How they were desperate to get rescued by the Coast Guard helicopters, and when they actually got the helicopters coming in there, how they struggled to take the patients up 5 stories high to the helipad for them to be rescued. The kind of governmental help that was missing in the beginning, and the desperation in the people, not only the citizens but also the doctors and nurses, as they were fearing that they're all going to die. So the series really focuses on all of that. Amidst all that, obviously, when the doctors and nurses realize that they will not be able to rescue everybody, they end up taking a decision that would have consequences after the effects of the hurricane are over, and an investigation starts in figuring out why that decision was made. The decision that was perhaps thought of at that point in time to be the right decision was morally very conflicting. It conflicted the doctors and nurses in the hospital when the decision was made. It conflicted the kith and kin of the people on whom that decision was implemented. And as a viewer, you will also face the moral dilemma to make a judgment whether the decision was the right thing to do or not. And as the investigations happen in the later part of the series on those decisions that were made and the aftermath of that, you as a viewer will also have a moral conflict, whether to side with what was done at that point in time or side with what should not have been done. It's quite deep, quite interesting. The best part of the series is the kind of dramatization they have done of the hospital and the aftermath of the hurricane's impact on the hospital. The desperation that is shown both in terms of how the doctors and nurses are struggling and how the patients are struggling, and the kind of devastation that it goes through with all the muck lying around and how they struggle to really evacuate is gut wrenching. It will really move you. It's a difficult watch in some parts when certain patients are shown on very critical care and how they're taken care of and how the doctors struggle, but at the same time it is very engrossing. In terms of performances, Vera Farmiga obviously plays a very critical role, but a large part of the beginning of the series she doesn't have much to do. Her actual performance counts in the later part of the series because of certain decisions that were made and the actions that she took. Cherry Jones plays this director at the hospital who has to take critical decisions, particularly the ones which will impact the lives of everybody at the hospital. And how as a leader you are tested under such circumstances, whether you don't know whether the decision that you're making is the right one or a wrong one, but you still have to make a decision. You still have to go one way. And she does an admirable job in showing how conflicted she is. She's not getting any support from anybody else because everybody's looking to her as a leader to take a decision, and then she ends up taking certain decisions, good or bad, and how she basically executes on those decisions. Fantastic performance by her. Michael Gaston and Molly Hager come later part in the series when they get into the investigation of certain things that happen at the hospital and the aftermath of that, and they do a thorough job of the investigation, but then they are kind of faced with a lot of resistance in terms of certain actions that were supposed to be taken on those decisions, and that is what disturbs them, and their performance is absolutely fabulous as to how they go through that painful period where they feel their investigation is spot on, decisions had to be made to prosecute the doctors and nurses, but then they're helpless because the system doesn't allow them to do so. So all in all, a fantastic drama series. Is something that will move you. It's gut-wrenching at times, but as I said, very engrossing for you to enjoy and see, and something that will give you an insight in terms of how disaster management failed in the US in this particular case, and how it was all left to doctors, nurses, and certain people take decisions, and whether they were the right decisions or wrong one, they had to do something, and that's what they did. So I would recommend, if you like moving drama series, then this is surely something that you cannot miss. 5 Days at Memorial on Apple TV+. Do go and check it out. Thank you for watching my reviews. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. If you like my reviews, please do pass it on to your friends and family. If you're not able to see my reviews on YouTube, you can always listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcast. And if you do listen in, please give a 5-star rating so others can discover my podcast. I look forward to bring more interesting reviews for all of you. Till next time, bye-bye.